Let's get more on this. We're joined by Mahjoob Zweiri, who's in Doha. He's a professor of contemporary Middle Eastern politics at Qatar University. Great to speak to you again, Professor Zweiri. Now, I know that you're a keen observer of these exchanges. You have a keen eye for the signage and for the messages that are being sent by Hamas. Tell us what kind of messages they're trying to send today as we watch this exchange, which is about to happen any moment now.
You know, Charlotte, this is the last exchange, and this phase was the first phase of the ceasefire. By finishing today, there will be 33 Israeli captives will go back, including 4 bodies, and more than I think 2,000, around 2,000 Palestinians will be released. I think the major message is today that Hamas is committed to the ceasefire deal, and what happened yesterday about the Shiri Tibian was happened because of the lack of the tools, so they can basically do their examination before they release the body. And I think what happened last night was has sent a message to the Israelis and to the Americans that they are committed to the ceasefire deal. The two messages I have noticed this morning, one basically about the right for return to the Palestinians. That was a very strong message that no one can decide Palestinian should leave their land. This is the land of the Palestinian, and they are insisting on staying there, and also the right for return. And that is basically was a clear and strong message on the stage. And the second one, again, is actually the show of power that they are still in control. They are still they are basically exchanging 6 of those captives in 2 different places, and the message was clear. They are in control. The 2 different places, Israelis have destroyed those 2 places up to the ground, but there's still there is a hope for life. I think what is clear today that there is a strong message about a continuation for the second phase, and not listening to the Israeli pressure to basically delay or complicate the process. It becomes clear now to the mediators that Netanyahu in particular is trying to create some obstacles, because he and his government aware that the second phase is a political phase where major issues should be discussed, including the withdrawal from complete withdrawal from Gaza, and also rebuilding Gaza, and also the day after. And those matters basically are serious matters, especially with the statement made by Trump yesterday that what he suggested about Gaza and leave Gaza was a proposal. He was surprised that Jordan and Egypt rejected that. And he said that it was a proposal. If they want to take it, leave it. And basically, this was a setback, I would say, statement, which is will not be a pleasant news to Benjamin Netanyahu.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned that Trump kind of backtracking a little bit on what had been described as his plan, in Trump's words, to create the Riviera of the Middle East. And he asked Arab leaders, well, come on then, you come up with your own plan. And we know that yesterday Arab leaders were meeting to discuss that. What do we know, or what don't we know about this Arab plan for Gaza?
Well, Charlotte, let's remind the viewers that this is not the first time there was an attempt to basically force Gaza to leave their land. This happened in 1973, and there was a huge effort at that time led by the Israelis to force Gaza, and it failed. So what Arabs, just going back to your question, the Arab leaders now, they talk about an Egyptian initiative, which basically talks about I would say, two stages of rebuilding Gaza, short term and long term. And they talk about an immediate steps, which basically getting more humanitarian aid, mobile homes and tents, trying to some trucks and other tools to remove clear the land, because the land is busy with what's being destroyed in the building and so removing all of this requires a lot of tools, and Israelis are delaying all of this. That's the first step. They want to have more aid to get into Gaza, and the second phase is actually having a sort of a conference to get more donations, donors actually, a donation from different donors to rebuild Gaza within the context of the Palestinian Authority. Of course, the Arab proposal is already rejected by the Israeli right-wing government because their aim is basically to control the land or basically having a government led, controlled by the Israelis. So the Arab proposal will face some challenges, but there is one major point here: is the determination of the Palestinians to stay in their land, whatever the circumstances, and the world will be tested about its moral and its ethics to let people dying in a very tough circumstances where we'll talk about human rights. So this will be a real examination and test to the credibility of what left of morals and ethics in our world.
Absolutely. And Professor Zweiri, as we continue to await the exchange of these hostages, I wonder if you could reflect for us on this ceasefire that's been going on since mid-January. How do you feel like overall it has gone? Certainly there have been some challenging moments, but if you reflect on the hostage releases, the commitment by each side, how would you assess it overall?
It's a great, I mean, this obvious, that was a great success of the mediators. This kind of mediation, I think it is one of its kind, simply because of two reasons. Number one, this kind of mediation came after a genocide where Israeli government have destroyed and killed thousands of people, and the world tried to ignore it. But at the end of the day, they acknowledged there was sort of, acknowledged what's happening, debating the genocide or not. And the mediation process is very complicated because you have a right-wing government which basically obsessed by controlling more land of the Palestinians and force them to leave their land. And the mediation in such circumstances is very complicated and is very hard. The second element I think is important on this phase is the intervention of the Americans, especially Trump administration, which it helped to create a breaking through on this process, which lasts for months. But what is interesting that Trump wants to solve this, I would say, crisis without being balanced in terms of who should pay the price. I mean, the biased opinion of the American government toward Israel could cause more obstacles on the second phase. And the American, I would say, support is required. The two mediators, Qatar and Egypt, they can do a lot, but American role is needed, and they have to be more balanced on this to achieve two things which are important to the Americans. One is security and stability in the Middle East, which is a major requirement to the American interest. And the second issue is actually avoiding more reflections inside Europe and America. You know, today there was a report talks about more than 2,500 terrorist accidents, quote unquote, happened. They were able to stop it in America. More than 1,700 in some of the European countries. because of Gaza war. So they have to play a major role to end this war, so they can have also stability inside their countries. The reflection is beyond the region, and America should understand that, and the Europeans, and help to get peace as soon as possible.
So given then everything you've said about American involvement such as it is, about the Arab plan that may be taking shape, and about what you said there about this being a mediation, a one-of-a-kind mediation, how optimistic are you about the next phase of the ceasefire talks? After all, they were supposed to have started weeks ago.
Yes, there is a delay already 2 weeks. I cannot say I'm pessimistic, but I can say that this is a very complicated process, a complicated conflict. This is a conflict where it's based on ideology, religion, interest, politics. So it's not straightforward. There is no straightforward definition for this conflict, the Arab-Israeli conflict and the Palestinian cause. So it's very complicated, I would say, conflict. And of course, the solution will be also not easy. What makes me, to some extent, optimistic is the determination of the mediators to put end to the war, and also the calculation of the Israelis that continuation in this war will not bring them peace. Because we witnessed just 24 hours ago what happened on different bus stops in Tel Aviv in 5 places in a matter of half an hour. So this reminds of the second Intifada, where inside Israel, the main cities will be targeted by the Palestinians defending their rights. So it is the interest of the Israelis to help to end the war and give the Palestinians some of their rights. I'm not saying Israelis will give them all rights, but at least give them the right to remain in their land and to rebuild Gaza and to stop reoccupying a lot of land from West Bank and creating another front of war. And that itself is a major requirement. Let's, Charlotte, make sure that what happened in West Bank will also influence the mediation process, because already Netanyahu has announced that the war is on West Bank, and his visit yesterday to Tulkarm is a message that Israel is in war and West Bank. So we have to consider all of those elements to say that, yes, there is hope, there is a determination, but I think it's not an easy way to achieve it fast. It will take some time, this phase.